Hello, everybody. So, I'm sure everything looks a little bit different than it did before, and that's because it is. Um, so, what happened between last time and now? The program that I used to capture my screen um, crashed probably three different times when I was going to save. Um, so we made some progress. Um, I will go ahead and explain what I was going to explain last time. Um, I'll go ahead and kind of give you an update of what I changed, so you're kind of in the loop and not sitting there wondering what is going on. So I moved the reference image over here because it looks cleaner. I put them in a reference window. Um, I also made this guy bigger. I have him kind of, tilted right now, and you'll see him when I rotate him back around how he looks. Um, but I wanted to give him more of a he looks like he's turning type of deal. Um, as you can see here, he's obviously not turning, um, but I wanted to kind of give him that look. So we played around with that a little bit. Let me think if there's anything else that we changed. I think that's it. I want to explain each of these boxes. This is the navigator box. It helps you rotate. It allows you to zoom in, zoom out, move around the box, so you can adjust what you want without clicking and accidentally messing up your image, which is very important, especially when you have a full screen of detail. Um, this, like I said, is the reference window. This is your toolbar. Over here, down here you can change a paper. Ignore that thing that keeps poking out. This is your color. If you ever used paint, there's a main color and then like a secondary color, and that's what that is. I'm gonna move this. There you go. So there's like a secondary color back there. That's all that is. There's some like directional stuff, but I usually use the navigator for that. There's some stuff like mirror painting and some guides, and I don't mess with that really. There's some other effects that I don't really use too often because it's not my style. Some other things, again, that I don't use very often. Doesn't really fit in with my style. Cropping, for some reason, I don't use this program to crop very often. I just draw it here and then I'll crop it in Adobe Photoshop. I don't know why. I'm not sure why that is. But I guess once I'm done drawing here, I just want it to be finished. And Photoshop is kind of my finisher. So I don't really use that, but I use other finished stuff. This just kind of moves things around, budgets it around, gets it where it needs to be, that sort of thing. This is kind of where you're really gonna, be using it. You'll be using this top board. Your brush, your dropper, your paint bucket, your eraser. You don't really use the paint bucket as much unless you're doing line art that involves, like if you're doing cartoonish stuff and you're just doing broad paint, maybe, then you might use this. If you're doing actual line art and then filling in the line art, you'd use that. But my two are the dropper and the brush. You will hardly ever, if ever, see me reach over here for them. One, because I discovered that if you have the dropper selected over here, you don't have to switch, go back and forth. You can just select color, and it's there, which is amazing. So you don't even have to switch, which is a lazy artist tool, which is great. But that's great. But you won't see me. I have keyboard shortcuts for most of these. Let's see. these are your recent brushes. You'll, if you use this program, you find, you have your standard brush, your detail brush, your blender. You might have an eraser that you prefer to use. You might have an effect or two that you like that will just kind of stay up here. Um, I only ever really go in here if I'm looking for a texture or I'm looking for something that I don't normally use. Um, so usually I don't really go into the brushes. If you're really just trying to discover something new, there's a lot of cool stuff. There's just simple if you just want to sketch, simple stuff. But there's some crazy, crazy stuff in here. If you want to just go wild, um, go for it. Um, FX, pretty crazy stuff. Um, so I mean, there's crazy stuff in there, but this is where your normal stuff is going to go. Up here is your brush adjuster. You can draw like straight lines. I don't use that very often because I don't draw a lot of straight lines, but if I have a straight line that I need to draw, I'll use it. I'm not opposed. Um, it helps instead of having to actually crank out a line. Um, this is your size. It does what it says. Adjust the size. This adjusts the transparency. Um, so if you only want it to be slightly visible, and then kind of layered on top of each other, you can. Not my thing usually unless I'm doing an original piece that is, my own palette. Um, but, to each their own. Um, there's these other options. I'll open the advanced brush controls just to kind of show you how much. There's just so much here. I mean, I'm an artist and I've been doing this for a few years now. I've gotten professional training on this and I've taken classes. I mean, I've done quite a bit and this is just overwhelming. Just look, I mean, I kind of want to just come in here and just set everything, I wish there was a random button just to kind of set everything to random and figure out what you're going to get. But, I mean, I know most of what everything does. Um, I don't really need to mess with it because I don't have a need to. I like using the standard brushes. I kind of like relating to the gouache. Um, I like having the physical, relation to the brushes and stuff. So I'm not a big fan of that, but I have done, pieces in the past that I've needed custom brushes, and that is just very helpful. That is crazy helpful, especially the size, the minimum size. Um, so that's all that. You can search for brushes. I've never used that, but it's there. It's kind of cool. Um, that disappeared. Oh, it went back. Let me think. I'm not sure if I explained it in the last episode, and I will cut it out if I already did. But these are the layers. Basically, you have a few layers that you're always typically going to have. There's a few different layer types that you can have in almost every digital art piece. Sometimes these pieces don't have all of these. Some of them have more than these. Some of them have just one or two. Some of them you just kind of wing it and don't have more than one. But typically, if you're doing a proper digital piece, you're going off of this. So you're going to have your canvas. The reason you don't draw on the canvas, in this program at least, um, And I use a general rule not to draw on the canvas at all, um, simply because if you draw on the canvas, typically the program will treat that as um, non-transparency. It will it'll make sure that anything that you draw is kind of set in stone. So if you want to go through later and change the background, it may cause problems. And as someone that works with printing things, I've worked with apparel design, t-shirts, um, you know, that sort of thing, um, graphic design. You don't want that option taken away from you. You can always add a background. You can always add, something behind it, but you can never once that transparency is taken away, it's very hard. If there's a section that's supposed to be transparent, it's hard to get that back. Um, so you don't want to draw on the canvas, but you do want to keep it on. Otherwise, you just get haze. The only time I turn the canvas off is when I'm going around and cleaning everything up, and just kind of making sure I don't have anything uh, out here, you know, to erase later um, in the piece. The next the next layer up is the base color. Now I know you saw a little bit of that. So I know you guys saw the base color. Um, and that's where you're going to put in the color, just the color for your subject. You don't want it to be too specific. You don't want it to be too general. You want it to kind of fit, the general look. Um, if you, my rule of thumb is if you zoom out to about there, it needs to look kind of like it will look good. Um, it needs to look like it would look like in a picture. And the colors are off, but that's because it's not perfect, it's not precise, it's not supposed to be, you know. And we'll go through and lighten this up a little bit. But yeah, the next is just the base colors, just slap them down. I usually do more detail for the face. They'll have smaller, tinier little dots for the face, and then I'll move to bigger, broader uh, strokes for the body, simply because there's not as much variation here. There's more variation in the face usually, no matter if you're working with fish or people. Um, so you have the base color next. The next thing you'll have is textures. These are things like, right here you have a bit of texture. Um, you know, it would be like crinkles or skin, um, any kind of wrinkling, a little bit of texture there. But anything that kind of makes it look like you could touch it and it feels something. Um, if you're an artist, you understand. If you're a person, you should kind of understand what that is. Um, but generally, if it looks like you could touch it, that's a texture. Um, and you may have several different layers of textures. They're not meant to be full-on colors. They're not supposed to be bold and bright. They're supposed to be kind of, faded out. They may have an effect done to them to kind of, um, you know, screen over another layer, um, to give them the desired texture. So there's a lot of different things that can be done with them. Um, but, sometimes there's no textures. That usually results in a very flat picture. Um, but sometimes there are several different layers of textures stacked on top of each other. So you never know with those. The next are the details. These are the fine, fine, fine things. These would be these tiny little lines right here in the eyes. Um, this like little white around the edges. The fin right here, because it does have a transparency to it and it's not hanging off the fish. Um, that will be likely um, considered a detail, and it will probably have a detail layer to itself. Little things like this. This is a detail. This line right here is a detail. It's very faint. This line is a detail, and this line, you know, these little lines are details. And it's basically going to go through and touch up on anything that needs, uh, a little bit more workup. And if you're an artist, you already know all this stuff. This is a standard. This is how you set up. It doesn't matter if you're using oils, acrylic, charcoal. This is how you do a piece. You start off with your coloring or your base. Actually, you start with your lines. I'm sorry. Then you do your base color if you're doing color. Um, then you work your way up to textures and details as the last. Then you finish it off by just cleaning up. Um, yeah, and then you clean it up. Lines, I usually will go through and erase them. Um, I will just kind of erase them where they are. Um, I'll clean them up. Some of them I'll leave. I might fade them out to a point that they look kind of like silver lining. Um, really depends on where they're at. Um, like this one, I might leave a little trace of it because there's a little bit of a silver print there. But most of them will disappear by the time we're done with this, and they'll just kind of be a remnant of this video. Um, so that's the general gist of what you missed. You missed all this fun coloring, which took 30 minutes. Let's see. I think that's where we're back at. I think we're back at the coloring. Um, and I'll explain my technique. I think that's where I was at. So let me pick a good spot to start back. In this kind of juncture. Yeah, a good juncture. So here we have, what we're going to do. And a lot of you may be wondering, okay, I don't really see, how all these little dots, um, why not just do a giant, um, slodge of color? And I kind of explained that before a little bit with the fact that there are some places, um, parts of a subject that need a little more detail. With this fish, there's a line here. There's a lot of detail in here, color-wise, that may be missed if I were just to do a big giant patch. I do this when I do um, traditional work as well. My palettes are usually quite expansive. I usually use like quite a bit of space to plan out my palettes because I just like so much variation with my colors. Now you get more colors working with the digital, media, but um, it's really not a competition. Whatever you prefer to use, you're going to use. Um, I like using this. So creeping up into the yellows. And this is kind of where it gets into that interesting part, and I'm actually going to bring this over because it's useful to have the visual of where my color is at. This is where you kind of get into the, if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to turn into mud hard. Because, you know, you could pull any of these colors. I mean, look, there's green, there's yellow, there's blue. But if you don't pull the right color, it's not going to look very great. Even when you blend all of it together, it's not going to look very good. So, let's see here. So I know that I'm doing a lot of talking, and this is going to be a long project, just from the looks of it. Um, but if you guys have any questions or you have any comments, if you want to know more about design, if you want any designs done, you know, feel free to reach out. I can give you I have my link to my Facebook page in the description of the video. At least I will. I'm going to. But you can go there. Um, you'll be able to see some of my artwork. Um, I'll probably be posting these videos there as well if you want to follow along. You can also subscribe if you want to kind of follow the series. Because I can guarantee I won't get this done in one night. I'm trying to think. I think that covers it. If you want to request a piece, to have a piece done, um, you know, I will provide an email if you request via my Facebook. Um, it's not my personal Facebook. It's a page, like an artist page, um, but you know, it's there. So this is coming together pretty good. And I also know that I have some of my design team watching. They may not be watching right now, but I know they're following along the series. Um, and I want to give a shout out to them because they're really great. And they've been doing a lot of hard work um, with our particular project. And they have just been amazing. So, really excited to show them new things with these programs here. And there's a little swatch. So yeah, they're really great. Self-touch and share. So yeah, if you guys are actually watching, if there's actually anybody watching, because I highly doubt anybody is actually watching this, but if any of you actually do watch this, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know what I should talk about in future videos while I do art. Let me know, maybe I should put some music on. Oh, look, that's so nice. Oh, that's very lovely. But yeah, let me know if I should put some music on, or if you prefer me to do like a time lapse. Um, if this starts getting too long, I might end up doing that regardless of whether you like it or not. Because, you know, it's kind of, I've literally recorded this like 3 times. I've spent the last 4 hours trying to get this done. So, um, it's been a long night and I'm quite tired. But yeah, this is fun. This is a good time. And we'll get it done. We'll get it done together. All of us. I just gotta channel my inner Bob Ross. You know, I don't have any happy trees to plant, but you know, like you said, any a happy accident. So there you go. If you have not ever watched Bob Ross, you need to just stop watching my just stop watching my video right now and go look up Bob Ross. I don't know where you've been for the past 20 years, but go watch Bob Ross. Your life will be changed, especially if you like art. Some of you are laughing right now, but seriously, if I'm sick, I can just sit there and watch Bob Ross paint for hours. I probably will do that tonight. Like, no joke. That's probably going to be on my agenda. Inspirational dude. Let's check that out. Oh, that's looking very good. Let's check that out compared to this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like that. Pulling out more of the purples on purpose. I do see that there's kind of a hint of purple, but I really want purple to pervade right here. I'm a big fan of color. I don't know if you guys have noticed yet. I've only done two, two fish photos, I want to say. I've done other photos, other illustrations elsewhere. Um, but I'm a huge fan of color. I love just explosions of color. So I'll probably do a lot of different, like the yellows will probably be very yellow. Probably be more yellow than this. Be very blue. This will probably be a nice dark, rich blue, bluish black. So we're in a good direction. So you can see here that even though we're pulling from a picture, we don't have to follow the rules. We don't have to follow the fact that it has, mainly blue. We're pulling some of the purplish blues. We're pulling certain blues for this area. We're pulling Facebook blue right here. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to test out a little bit more color. I know I really didn't do much in this episode as with the art. But I literally just spent 4 hours trying to make this work. I just shelled out $20 for a screen share program because I tried 3 different programs that did not work. So this one seems to work, and this is what we have so far. I think with the next episode, I might throw on some music, some royalty-free music, or whatever the requirements are. I don't want to get busted by the YouTube police. But we'll throw something on, something light, maybe, um, and just kind of jam and color. Um, and then we will go ahead and do some blending, and then from there we'll move on to detail work. After that we'll move on to probably textures. I like to do details first and then textures. I'll put details um, as like a landmark. Um, and then I'll do more details after that. Um, so we have a lot ahead of us, but this is a very, very good start. It doesn't look like much. It doesn't look like the picture over here at all, but that's okay. We'll have that picture eventually. It'll look better than that picture. It's going to be the cutest little patootie ever. Um, so just hang in there. We're going to have an awesome, series coming up. We're probably going to have some long episodes where I just chug out some art, and we will push through this together. If you're watching this, from an art stance, if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any questions about Corel Painter, 2015. Let me know if you have any questions about the program or how to use it. I will do my best to help. If you want any kind of tutorials done on color, technique, um, pretty much anything, let me know and I can pop some out for you. Um, just generally, whatever you want, just let me know. Um, so, I spent, this money on the screen sharing program. I might as well get use out of it. So just pop some comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video. So take care. Bye-bye.